Josh with Talk About Trek, and I've just finished up the 4-part Invasion series, and I thought it'd be a good time just to kind of sit down and give my thoughts on the series as a whole. So, as you can see, the Invasion series is made up of First Strike by Diane Carey, of course, a TOS book. Number 2 is Soldiers of Fear, written by Dean Wesley Smith and Christine Kaplan Roosh. Invasion Time's Enemy by L.A. Graff. And of course, the finale, which I just finished today, The Final Fury by David Abhue. So, the Invasion Saga is, and this is directly from the book about books here, which I'm referencing. The Invasion Saga was the brainchild of John Ordover and Diane Carey. When John was first hired to the editorial staff, they were producing 6 original novels and 6 next-gen novels a year. DS9 came along, adding another 6 novels a year into the mix. Voyager created another 6 per year 2 years later. Invasion came when John came to the conclusion that publishing Trek books on a regular monthly schedule was similar to comic books. Realizing that stories in the graphic world did cross over storylines on a regular basis, he applied this idea to the Trek line. Interesting. So the whole thing kind of came up as thinking about the way like comic books intertwine their storylines. So anyway, he called up Diane Carey and gave her this basic outline, and then she kind of came up with the rest. And then they, of course, enlisted the help of all these fine Trek authors. So really, you're looking at the work of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different kind of authors working together to create this. I mean, it's not one complete story, but this one kind of narrative. And it's very interesting because it is told in a different way by each author and by each, in each different group there, in each different series. So, and it's also because you get to see just the way each individual kind of captain also reacts to this situation and, to these entities. So, as to the Furies themselves, well, first off, let's look at this. So here's the full art cover, which of course they divided into 4 for the individual books. This is like the cover from the omnibus here. But look at the actual full art with nothing on it. So this is done by the late great Keith Birdsong, who's done so many of these. But as you can see in the middle there's your Fury, And then they've also depicted like the snakes in the hair as well. But that was a different Fury. The main Fury that they kind of feature is, your idea of what like the devil or Lucifer, or whatever would look like, that kind of gothic image. And then they do really expound upon it too in the later books as well, as to like how like disgusting and loathsome these things are to look upon, where they literally have like bugs and things crawling on them and crawling in and out of their mouths, and just like basically like nightmare creatures come to life. That's what they are. So, and again, each book tells a different kind of series or a different side of this story. Oh, a big water drink. Okay. So, the first one tells the first meeting of the Furies. When they first come into the quadrant and they basically come into Klingon space, and Kirk and crew, along with some Klingons, are able to fight off this first small invasion of just a few ships. Next, Captain Picard and the crew of the Enterprise 80 years later have to face off the second invasion. This time they've sent more ships with the intention of opening up a wormhole and sending their whole fleet through to take over the galaxy. Picard and crew are able to stop them. They tried diplomacy, it doesn't work. But they're able to stop them, but they lose Lieutenant Redbay, a new character, one of Riker's friends, who saves the day by going into the wormhole to shut down the power source of the wormhole. Now they move on to the last two, which I think were my favorite. Really, kind of just got better as it went along for me. But again, the DS9 book, Time's Enemy, completely different than everything else. This focuses on the enemies of the Furies, the people that drove the Furies away from the original land anyway, where they started, you know. So this is interesting, uh, and the enemy of the Furies is like even more terrifying, I guess, than they are themselves when you kind of look at that. So, and this also has a lot of very fun time travel stuff in it too, which was really good. So, and then the finale, of course, the final Fury, which tells the story and shows kind of the origin of the Furies, you know, where they are in the Delta Quadrant. So, a very interesting series of books, again, put together by many different Trek authors, but it tells just I don't know, a very different kind of story, because the enemies are so they're so like comically bad, you know, but like they're there and they're real, but it's so like silly, you know. You have Picard facing off against Satan basically, but it's just done so well. And again, each book just focuses on little different things and different parts of the story. So it's a fun little saga to pick up and get into. And each of the books as well are kind of standalone too. So if you didn't want to read the whole thing, you could just read one, and each of them is definitely very good. But again, look at this art. That art by Keith Birdsong, because it is fantastic. And this was a fun series. So I had a good time reading this, and I'm really looking forward to getting into more kind of this crossover stuff, and definitely just kind of like the longer series of books, which is kind of some things I'm getting into soon. So I don't know where we're going from here in the Trek world, but we will certainly see. So that's my final thoughts on the Invasion saga. Very interesting, silly at times, but a lot of fun, and definitely worth the read. So thank you so much for hanging out. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you all in the next one.